Charjabug was one of the most dominant Pokemon at the World Championship, and it was just used on the winning team in Grand Finals by the new World Champion Yakai0904, but not in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. This non-threatening looking bug is an extremely solid choice in the Pokemon GO competitive metagame right now. Not only was Charjabug used on the winning team, it has been one of the most popular Pokemon throughout the entire event. Competitive Pokemon GO is in fact a thing, folks. The mobile game where you have to catch Pokemon in the outside world, and the combat seems to consist of tapping the screen as fast as possible. This is something I often forget, and many are surprised to learn that this has a competitive scene. Pokemon GO doesn't seem like a competitive esport, but it has surprising depth to it that you really wouldn't expect when looking at it. I was so curious about how Charjabug weaseled its way onto the world stage that I've gone down a Pokemon GO rabbit hole, trying to figure out what combination of strange circumstances led to this small rectangle, perhaps the last Pokemon you would ever expect to thrive competitively, having such impressive results at the highest level tournament in the world. Thank you very much to professional Pokemon GO competitor MagmarMan26 for educating me on the ins and outs of Pokemon GO and how it works. You can check him out on Twitch and Twitter, links below. Let's find out how the hell Charjabug got here, folks. But first, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to prevent Charjabug from making any more charged comments towards Makago, his greatest rival. Thank you. Pokemon GO has very distinct mechanics compared to the main cartridge games, and therefore has a totally different competitive metagame. Some things are similar, most notably the type chart is completely one-to-one. All the types in Pokemon GO have the same properties as in the mainline games, but just about everything else is different. Most notably, Pokemon GO is played in real time. It isn't turn-based. There is no speed stat in Pokemon GO to determine who acts first. Both players attack one another simultaneously. The way attacking works is also very different. There are two kinds of attacks: fast attacks and charged attacks. Fast attacks can be used as much as you want. If you've seen Pokemon GO players tap the screen a lot, they're doing fast attacks there. These attacks deal small amounts of damage and generate a resource called energy when they're used. Energy is what you need to do the charge attacks. These are the real heavy hitters. Charge attacks take a while to charge up, hence the name. But once they're ready, they will hit significantly harder than the fast attacks. You also have to play a little mini game to actually execute them, where you need to pop a lot of bubbles. Only true gamers are able to pop all the bubbles and achieve the highest damage. I told you this was a skillful esport. These fast attacks and charge attacks can have different properties. Some fast attacks have short cooldowns compared to others. The Pokemon GO community refers to 0.5 seconds of in-game time as one turn to help quantify these cooldowns. Some fast attacks are more spammable, with only a 1-turn cooldown. Some have longer cooldowns, like 4 turns, but do more damage and generate more energy. Damage per second and energy generation are things you have to consider here when choosing a fast attack for your Pokemon. Switching also works totally differently in Pokemon GO. In mainline Pokemon, you can switch as many times as you want with no drawback, but in Pokemon GO, switching has a cost. The act of switching takes 1 turn, or 0.5 seconds of in-game time, and you need to wait 60 seconds before being able to switch again. This is where strategy starts to come in. Switching is a serious commitment, and making a defensive switch isn't a simple thing like it is in the mainline games. Once you switch something in, you are stuck there for a long time, and switching into the wrong Pokemon could lose you the game. The defensive mechanism of Pokemon GO is something called shields. Shields can be used to block a charge attack from happening completely, which is obviously great, but each player only gets 2 shields per game. Spending a shield is also a significant commitment, and ideally, if you spend your shield to defend yourself, you want to use it against the hardest hitting attack possible. Wasting a shield on something that you could have just tanked instead could also lose you the game, leaving you without this important resource to defend against the enemy's onslaught. So competitive Pokemon GO is all about resource management. You are trying to charge up your powerful charge attacks quicker than the opponent. Defend against their charge attacks as efficiently as you can while trying to expend their resources, maximizing your damage output and KOing all of their Pokemon. Just like in mainline Pokemon, mind games are a big factor here, as is having a strong game plan. Forcing your opponent to use their resources like switches gives you a big advantage, as you can switch in response, creating a positive matchup for yourself. There's also some advanced technology in Pokemon GO that even I don't fully understand yet. Sometimes you actually want to fail the attack minigame on purpose to do less damage and allow yourself to charge up more energy or something. I'm not fully sure, but it does get crazy. So circling back to charge Charjabug. Why is this guy so good here? Competitive Pokemon Go has different league formats that you can play in. This is a little bit similar to Smogon's tiering system. The power of a Pokemon in Pokemon Go is represented by something called combat power. At the Pokemon World Championship, they are using a Great League rule set, meaning Pokemon with more than 1500 combat power are banned. Super powerful legendaries and other top level threats like Landorus, Therian, and Mewtwo cannot be used here. So the power level of Pokemon seen at Worlds is lower by design, but Charjabug still feels pretty out of place here, sitting above much more powerful looking Pokemon like Annihilape and Cresselia. And why would you use Charjabug over its evolved form, Vikavolt? Well, for whatever reason in Pokemon Go, Charjabug actually has better stats than its evolved form. The stats in Pokemon Go are simplified. As mentioned earlier, there is no speed stat, and there is also no special attack or special defense. There is just attack and defense to determine how hard you hit and how little you take. Vikavolt does have a much higher attack than Charjabug, but it is significantly worse defensively. Charjabug has almost 40 more points in defense and 15 more in HP, which is very significant. Most evolved forms are strictly better, but in this case, Charjabug having that superior bulk is much more desirable, especially because the main reason to use Charjabug is for its type combination. That may sound crazy because in mainline Pokemon, Bug Electric isn't exciting, but in Pokemon Go, and especially in this particular Worlds format, the typing is a great fit with excellent offensive and defensive advantages. Bug and Electric make for good neutral defensive typing in this metagame. Electric is usually weak to ground, but Bug typing cancels out this weakness. Likewise, Bug is usually weak to flying, but Electric typing cancels out this weakness too. Pokemon Go has the same type attack bonus, just like the mainline games. And electric type damage will hit a lot of important targets super effectively here, like Skarmory, Azumarill, and Mandibuzz. Most electric types are vulnerable to ground, so Charjabug's typing and solid bulk mean that this usual counterplay won't work. Being neutral to flying instead of weak to it helps significantly too. You will greatly threaten enemy flying types while they will struggle to threaten you as much. Bug type damage is also nice in this metagame, as it's super effective against the common Cresselia. Charjabug has useful resistances to fighting and grass, and with this solid neutral defensive typing, there's little in the way of hard counters to our favorite rectangle. This makes Charjabug a pretty nice Pokemon to switch in defensively. Switching is much more of a commitment in Pokemon Go, so it's nice to switch into something like this, that can resist an incoming hit well, but also has that nice typing that is pretty hard to punish significantly. Charjabug is only weak to the fire and rock types, who have so far been quite uncommon at Worlds. Charjabug has a solid enough set of attacks up its sleeve too, and while it isn't as hard hitting as Vikavolt, its attack stat is good enough to get the job done, especially if it's dealing super effective damage. A good fast attack on Charjabug is Volt Switch. This does not have the pivoting effect that it does in the mainline games, and is instead a regular attack. This has a long cooldown of 4 turns, or 2 seconds of real time, but it deals good damage and generates energy efficiently. Pokemon can have 2 charge moves in Pokemon Go, and Charjabug has nice ones for each of its stab types. Discharge as the electric type attack, and X-Scissor for bug type damage. So there you have it, folks. This miniature bug has captured the hearts of gamers everywhere with its incredible success on the world stage. Charjabug is not only superior to its own father, Vikavolt, with more desirable stats, it has an unexpectedly great type combination in a metagame where little can threaten it significantly. Thank you again to professional Pokemon Go player MagmarMan26 for answering my many Charjabug related questions. You can check him out on Twitch and Twitter down below.